Are y'all ready to nerd out on to-do lists? I mean, it is this channel's middle name after all. With this video, I want to dig into the reason why I think you need a to-do list, and it might not be what you think. It's more about giving your brain a break so you can save it for its best use, and not so much about being a perfect little machine who has it all in order. So, let's get started. Have you heard of this? It's something called the Zignarik Effect. Bluma Zignarik was a Russian psychologist in the 1920s. And while dining in Vienna, she noticed that the waitstaff could remember the unpaid orders better than the paid orders. So she went back to the lab to run some tests and studies and found that indeed, people were twice as likely to remember the details of an uncompleted task than those of a completed one. What's going on here? Well, I grabbed a little bit more from Wikipedia, and it says, a task that has already been started establishes a task-specific tension, which improves cognitive accessibility to the relevant contents. The tension is relieved upon completion of the task. If the task is interrupted, the reduction of tension is impeded. Through continuous tension, the content is made more easily accessible and can be easily remembered. Now, not all of us are waitstaff, so what does this mean for the rest of us? It means that if there is a process, a thought, an idea, a task, a project, a commitment, or yes, even a customer's order that remains incomplete, it A, creates tension, and B, clutters the mind. David Allen, OG productivity guy, calls these unfinished items that create tension and clutter open loops. Open loops keep your mind busy with the remembering and away from doing what it was designed to do, which is think, cogitate, decide, create, discern, learn, all the good stuff. And while I don't have any scientific proof for this, I suggest that with the continuous tension that Zignarik observed, open loops increase your activation, the uptick of your sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the part of your nervous system that turns you on, elevates your whole being. Not a bad thing necessarily. In fact, very, very useful at the right time, but too much of it can be too much. So when you have too many open loops, I posit, we end up in anxiety and overwhelm. So on top of the tension caused by unclosed loops and the space taken up in your brain by the memory required to track that unclosed loop, you may be a bit of a worrier like me. And if you are, you might be spending energy worrying that you missed something or that you forgot something. And if that's you, you have yet another reason that open loops cause problems for you. So what do we do? Is it possible to close every single loop immediately after it comes up? Can we cash out every customer's order right away? Alas, no. We can't handle every email as it comes in our inbox and do the work that we've been assigned to do and execute on that marketing plan while taking the dog for a walk. So we need to game the system. Find a way to trick our minds into thinking those open loops are closed. We are trying to free up memory, reduce tension, and bypass overwhelm. How? By getting those loops out of our minds and into a place where it feels like they are complete. And where is that? Yeah, the good old-fashioned to-do list. But here is where we're really gonna nerd out, because in fact, the to-do list is just the middle of the process. So let's break it down. First step, notice that there is a loop to be caught. This does require paying attention. If you're used to casually trying to remember what you need to do later, you may not notice it. Or if a loop is coming to you from inside your mind, that is to say it comes to you in the form of a thought, you may not hear it. So this does require some awareness of what's going on in your noggin. Whether it's an internal or external thing, this first step is just noticing that there is a loop to be caught. Second step, capture those open loops using one or more capture tools. These can be a physical inbox, a notes app on your phone, voice memos, a notebook that you carry around in your pocket, jots in your journal, whatever works for you. I am brewing some ideas about a future video called The Art of the Capture, so watch this space. Step 3. Periodically process those captured items. Grab those hastily scribbled notes and the papers from your inbox and voice memos on your phone, and yes, even your unopened emails, and get them into a central, easy-to-view place. probably what we would call a to-do list. As you take items off of your capture tools, you may discover that not all of them deserve a place in your to-do list. We only want action items on your to-do list. It's possible that some of the captured items are actually, say, reference information that you need to store for later, or maybe they're a multi-step project or goal that don't belong on a list of immediately actionable items, or maybe they are brainstorms or a content note. This transfer time off of the capture tools is a moment to refine your understanding of what you captured, and really only get the actionable items, the specific tasks into your to-do list. Everything else should be parked elsewhere. Step 4, sort the to-do list into a format that's useful for you. Now, how you sort that list will probably be the subject of one or more future videos, but for now, let's suffice to say that we're trying to sort that list so that it's easy for you to use. You want it to remind you of what you want to be reminded of when you want to be reminded of it. Remember, we won't really be able to trick your brain into thinking that loop is closed if we can't really get that item into a reliable place where you know you can easily find it later. If your brain doesn't trust that you'll be able to find it again, it will hang on to that thing and it will take up precious cognition space and memory space and maybe even worry space in your brain. Step 5. When the time comes, choose from that list what you will do. Of course, more on that choosing in another video. And last, number 6, do that thing and truly close the loop. So I wanted to nerd out on this topic of to-do lists because I think we often jump over some of the steps I just outlined. We just kind of write stuff down and then try to do it. And of course that's fine. But there are more pieces to the process that, if skipped, I think can reduce the effectiveness of your to-do list. In essence, I think at minimum, we need to take at least as much care as is required to trick your brain into thinking those loops are closed. And with that extra attention, you can really get to your to-do list to sort of be your surrogate brain. By the way, if you're a super fan of David Allen and getting things done and that whole framework, you'll notice that the steps I outlined earlier are not exactly the same steps as the getting things done methodology. I've got my own spin on it, and for today, I'm just focusing on the to-do list part of things rather than the broader framework. So here I am preaching the gospel of the to-do list. In the end, am I just saying that you should put items on the to-do list so you can take them back out? Yeah, I am. Because when they're on your list, they can be out of your brain. We don't want to use up precious brain space trying to remember things when it can be used for creative thought and valuable work. You get to choose when to put that item back in your brain, and that time is when you can give it the energy and attention it deserves. And meanwhile, you haven't let it occupy space in your brain rent-free before you can actually do the task. Realistically, we can't always have everything captured at all times, especially when you have a new email or Slack message coming in every few minutes. But I am here to testify. There is a unique, satisfying calm that can happen when you know you've got everything out of your head. Just give it a try. Do a brain dump. Walk around your living space and make note of unfinished projects. Gather all your papers and go through them. Look at your work projects and make note of the next actionable steps in each one. This might take a half an hour, it might take a couple of days, but it is a sweet place to be. For me, so worth it. Now, to-do lists are not exactly new. I'm not discovering water on Mars here, but so often we jump over the why. So we're not quite sure why we're making a list, except that we're supposed to. I gotta get my act together. So I hope this explanation gives you some motivation and gets you in touch with a more fundamental reason for to-do lists. Wouldn't you like more free space in your brain to think and create and decide and dream? Give us a shout in the comments below. This to-do list nerd wants to hear all about your lists and what motivates you to keep them. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.